Hey there, sports fans. How we doing? This is going to be our Week 14 Sunday preview. We got a lot of teams. This is actually, if you're a fantasy player, this is a rough one. This is usually your last week in fantasy. And you have six teams on bye.
It's actually a change. I don't know if any of you guys are dealing with this, but it was made to our league. We pushed our playoffs back because last year, actually,
we had playoffs starting.
We neglected the fact that they added the week to the season. So we started our playoffs in Week 14 still, because that's typically when we started in most seasons up until they made the schedule change. And we had teams in the playoffs
with
players on bye, like key players on bye. So this year we made a very good point of it in our league to move it back. But now we got guys like Jay
fighting for playoff spots,
tied with one other player for he's currently sitting outside the playoffs, but he has the same record. He's losing on points right now. But
you have stars. I mean,
he's a Falcons fan, so of course he always gets some Falcons on his team. So he's missing people on Falcons. He has Matt Ryan, as bad as Ryan's been, but Matt Ryan's out in Indy.
6 teams on bye week.
He's got both of New Orleans quarterbacks. He's got Jameis and Andy Dalton, so both of them are out. So like he's hurting. He's got a ton of guys that aren't playing.
Green Bay. Now think about it. Green Bay. You're missing Jones. You're missing Watson. You're missing Aaron Rodgers. You have AJ. You have Dillon, depending on which running back you have.
Atlanta. You're missing. Atlanta doesn't have any consistent standout players.
Unfortunately, not.
Neither does New Orleans.
Actually, Young Hoku, if you have him, he's probably the most consistent player on our offense.
New Orleans. Olave won't be playing.
Indy's got some guys
JT's out.
Taylor's out.
Then you got Chicago. That could be a big one for some people.
Chicago.
Justin Fields has really started to shape his career. He's doing really well.
Fields or Breece Hall. I mean, not Breece Hall.
David Montgomery.
Pierce.
Pierce. It's David Montgomery, and then they got Khalil Herbert.
Oh, Herbert. Yeah, there you go. I know it's one of these young guys.
Green Bay. We're not going to get to see if Watson can put up more touchdowns.
Washington.
Washington, you're missing Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson.
Yep. So again, a huge bye weeks this week, but 6 teams, so we're out 3 games. So our first 1:00 game is going to be Minnesota and Detroit. I took Minnesota in this one, 31-27. Detroit came out last week and just blew the doors off of Jacksonville. Was it 40-14 or something?
Well, I'll tell you, Detroit came out this. I took Minnesota as well. Before I get into my opinion, I took Minnesota 27-17. But Detroit came out this year and played really good offense to start the season, but their defense was dreadful, and then their offense kind of came down to earth and they were just losing games. But then Detroit went on this little streak where I believe. And you could fact check me if I'm wrong, but I believe Detroit won like 3 or so out of their last 4 games, and they've been playing well. On Thanksgiving, they almost beat Buffalo, but they weren't able to. Was it Buffalo? Was it Buffalo they played?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't remember the Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was. It was. No, it was Buffalo. They played the 1:00 game on Thanksgiving, and they almost beat Buffalo, but they weren't able to make key plays at the end. And Buffalo, the better team, made it.
Well, you got to think Swift is out for the middle of the season.
Detroit is flirting with like a 4 or 5 game winning streak if they were able to close that one out.
Swift is out in the middle of the season. You traded away Hockenson right before the trade deadline, so you have to make adjustments in your offense for that. That's going to take some time. So these guys, and again, they're still working with Jared Goff.
But what I'm saying is Detroit is starting to get like a culture. They're playing good football, which isn't something you could say out of Detroit that often. Even when Detroit, because I remember I've seen Detroit maybe make the playoffs twice in my entire life. And the only reason they made the playoffs when they did, it wasn't that they were like a good team playing well. One of the years they made the playoffs, Calvin Johnson, did he go over 2,000 receiving yards?
Ndamukong Suh was over there.
But that wasn't even.
Ebron.
Ndamukong Suh was an animal, but that was also like Ndamukong Suh that you can't trust. That was when he was in Detroit. That's the same Ndamukong Suh that was stomping on people's helmets, getting.
They're calling him Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yep, smash.
So like, even though he was a talented player, he wasn't playing like mature, composed football.
Oh, I know. But on the other side of the ball, Minnesota's just they're very dominant in the NFC right now. I think they're the top team, if not, behind.
No, they're behind Philly.
No, are they behind? Yeah, that's right, Philly. I forgot Philly has one loss.
Top team in the league.
Minnesota's got 2. But Minnesota's got weapons, man, all around. Their defense is good. Their offense is good.
Their defense is a little above average. They're not amongst the top D's in the league.
No, Harrison Smith's definitely the core around their defense, but they have a lot of talented players.
But they're better. I don't know the stats on Minnesota's defense, I'll be honest with you, but I would say they would probably sit around the 10 to 14 range.
Probably somewhere
They're
in
a
that.
solid group. They're not elite, but they're solid.
Yep. Oh, no, I agree. And I think this is just going to be a game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game because they both have high-scoring offenses. And again, I just think Minnesota's going to come out being the better team. Detroit's really kind of a team you can't trust right now. Again, one week they put up 40, the next week they get shut out, stuff like that. So it's up and down, and Minnesota's just more of a consistent team. So I'm going to stick with them on my picks.
The next game we got for tomorrow on Sunday is Baltimore heading to Pittsburgh. Now, this is a game where you probably should take Baltimore, but I took Pittsburgh 16-13, and the reason why is because Lamar's not playing. If Lamar was playing, I would take Baltimore every time, at least with the teams as they are now. But Pittsburgh plays good defense. And
they're back healthy.
And Kenny Pickett's not costing the game. He's being a good game manager. We'll see if he can get better as his career progresses. But Pittsburgh should be able to hold Pittsburgh to Pittsburgh should hold Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should be able to hold Baltimore to a low score and do enough offensively to win this game.
I had the same thing. I picked Pittsburgh in this one, 21-17. But Huntley's not. Huntley's kind of like a poor man's fucking Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's what I said. I call him a watered down Lamar.
Yeah, he's not terrible, but he doesn't have that other. He's not the guy who's going to put a team on his back. So I think Pittsburgh's going to be able to take the edge, especially with their defense back and healthy. Fitzpatrick, Watt, these guys are animals, and it's just one of those games where I really it's going to be interesting to see. How it plays out, but I think it's going to be a little closer game than most people expect. Now, next game on the slate was Cleveland and Cincinnati. I took Cincinnati. They're rolling. Chase is back. Burrow's
They've won 4 out of the last 5.
Burrow's game is really elevated with Chase in the lineup, and I'm not sure if Mixon's going to be back this week or not.
I hate that people say that. That's so
but
nuts.
I picked Cincinnati 37-20.
Why do people say that Burrow didn't play well without Chase when the Bengals went 3-1 without Chase in the lineup? Having Chase in the lineup definitely makes them a better team. He's one of the best receivers in the league. But Burrow did just fine without Chase. He did just fine. Burrow did well. He did better than they were doing for the first half of the season. Burrow,
would you pick your first score? I gave it a little higher.
I picked Cincinnati 31-20.
Yeah, I put 37-20, but still, I think we can agree Cleveland is as good as they are. Isn't going to.
You hear it from me now. I'll eat my words if I'm wrong. I got Cincinnati taking the AFC. Cincinnati's jumped in multiple power rankings I've seen. They've jumped inside the top 5 in the NFL now. They're 8-4.
Do you think they're going to beat Kansas City, Miami, and Buffalo?
I don't think that Kansas City has shown they can beat Cincinnati.
Okay, that's a one brick wall.
So there's one.
I'll give you
that's
that.
one of the teams.
I'll give you that.
Buffalo's going to be a hard test, but we'll see if Buffalo...
I think we had this talk last week because I think I asked you if Cincinnati's better than Buffalo.
And I said they're about even.
Because
I said Buffalo might get the slight edge. This is
and
how I
then most
said
of that's defense.
Yeah,
I think the edge comes out on defense there.
But Cincinnati has a good defense as well. They're not a crummy group. They
Buffalo
have some
has
star
the best
players
defense
over there.
in the AFC and possibly
In the AFC, not in the NFL. San Fran's by far the best defense in the NFL.
We've had that conversation.
They're giving up 15 points a game.
Yeah.
But Cincinnati is arguably, I don't think there's a clear-cut number 1 team. I think there's 3 number 1 teams in the AFC. There's Kansas City, there's Buffalo, and there's Cincinnati. All 3 of those.
Miami in that.
No, Miami's a very good team. I would even say Miami's a great team. However, Miami is not on the level of the 3 teams I just named.
Okay.
Cincinnati, Kansas City, Buffalo are. Cincinnati is historically one of the worst franchises in the NFL.
Yeah.
Historically, they've got one of the worst winning percentages. They went on one of the longest streaks of not winning a playoff game. Cincinnati is a god-awful franchise. And Joe Burrow was able to... He's changed the entire identity of the team. Now, they have other pieces. You can't give it all to Burrow, but your quarterback is the most important piece on your team. Burrow is their heart and soul. Now, yes, they have great players. Like T. Higgins is a fantastic receiver. Jamar Chase is fantastic. Joe Mixon's a great back. But even going with it, one of my favorite stats is last year, Cincinnati's offensive line was averaging 7 sacks allowed a game, and he still brought them to the Super Bowl, which means at the end of the day, Joe Burrow was getting his ass beat and getting up and still making enough plays a game to win them games. I have tons of respect for Joe Burrow. I'll be honest with you, on his bandwagon, Joe Burrow is my favorite quarterback in the NFL. I won't call him the best, however, I think he is in the conversation for the best quarterback in the NFL.
Well, you're allowed to have your opinion.
Think he's in the conversation.
I
think it
don't
comes
agree at
down.
all.
I think it comes down to him, Mahomes, and Josh Allen. I think all three of the best quarterbacks in the NFL are still in the AFC. Jalen Hurts, fantastic season.
So you're gonna discredit
Hurts is fantastic, and Hurts might even be the MVP this year. Tua's fantastic as well.
What about the year Geno's having?
Josh Allen. What I saw to Josh Allen, he didn't deserve to lose to the Chiefs, but by the rules of the game, he didn't get a chance in the overtime. The Chiefs kicked him out the playoffs. Mahomes has proven himself to be the guy he is. His playoff success is off the charts, and not to mention his stats. He has over a 50 touchdown season on his career. Like, Mahomes has established himself as who he is. He lost Tyreek this year, and the Chiefs are doing fine. And I've been very impressed from what I've seen from Burrow's very young career, and he looks like he has his team poised to make another playoff run. At this point, we should touch on Cleveland. We're going to get to see Watson in his second game as a starter. So maybe he'll actually show up this week, because his first game back, he did not show up at all.
Nope. But this is also a chance for Chubb to put some to try to close the gap again on Jacobs for the rushing title. But right now, Jacobs is well ahead of him and Henry for the rushing title.
Jacobs didn't have a slouch of a game.
No, Jacobs definitely pulled himself, put some distance. But our next game on the slate might actually end up being the game of the week, only because of injuries and some of the other games. You have the rematch between the Jets and Buffalo Bills. The Jets were the only team this season to keep Buffalo under 20 points. Their game came down to a kick at the right at the end of the game. It was a 17-20 game.
Their game actually came down to
the Jets
lost the ball at the 1 yard line and had no timeouts. And Josh Allen fumbled in the end zone. It's the only reason the Jets had another chance, and they took advantage of it.
Yep.
And they were able to win.
Yep. And then they also made a huge halftime switch. This was the game where Stephon Diggs had 5 catches for 93 yards in the first half, and then they switched Sauce over to him on the second half. He didn't have a single catch in the second half. So you kind of wonder if they're going to go with that, to start the game. What they're going to do there. They also...
Well, part of the reason for...
Gabe Davis...
Some stuff that goes on like that. So, the Jets play a heavy zone defense. So, Sauce does play some man. And when he plays man, the stats show, when he's been...
Shut down.
When he's been asked to play man defense, he's been completely shut down. But they play a lot of zones. So.
Yep. But this is going to be... It's going to be an interesting game.
I took the Bills.
I took Buffalo as well, 27-21. I think Josh Allen's going to have... I think once they beat them, I'm pretty sure he circled this game on the calendar. This is a pretty important one. And again, it's also a divisional game, and Buffalo really needs to win out these divisional games because their position in the playoffs might come down to their divisional record, really. They have the edge on Kansas City.
They are in argument with the NFC East. The AFC East might be the best division in football this year. The Patriots what's their record? They played 13. No, they're on a bye. So they played 13 games this year.
Yep. Everybody said a bye yet. Yeah, they're not on bye now.
So the Patriots are in 13 games. They have
6-7, I think.
No, 7-6.
Are they winning?
They're 7-6, a winning record. The Dolphins are 8-4. The Jets are 7-5, and the Bills are 3 losses or 4. 4. So 8-4.
No, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost 3.
So 9-3. So every team in that division has a winning record. They make an argument for the best division in the league, and as well as the Bills are playing, as good as they've been, every game matters just because the other teams in the division are playing so well.
I think the NFC East is probably the best division only because now with the way that Washington has played the second half of the season. Yeah, the way that he's played the second half of the season, they were really the low ball in that division, and they've definitely stepped up. So Either way, tough divisional game, and I really think Buffalo needs to take this one. We'll see how they come out and they play because it's an important game to both teams. But again, I think this is one where
go NFC East is the best.
Yep. But next game on the slate is probably going to be a wash. It's Texans versus Dallas. I took Dallas 31-13 in this one, and I don't know if I have to really explain why, but
I took Dallas 20-6.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be more low scoring just because, believe it or not, Houston's problem this year hasn't really been their defense. Houston's played some pretty solid defense, but their offense is just atrocious. They have no receivers. They have a rookie
Cooks is
running back
out
that's
in this
pretty
game.
good.
Yeah, Cooks
They
is
have
out.
they have no good quarterbacks.
No.
So Houston they have no passing
Are they
game
going
at
with
all.
Taylor this week? Walker. PJ Walker this week?
No, he's in Carolina.
Oh yeah, Carolina. Who's your starter this week?
They
It's not Mills.
no
It's not Mills. It's not a rookie.
they brought in our quarterback last week that played for them, and he
I
played
can't remember
awful.
who. Yeah, terrible game.
But Houston's defense isn't terrible, so Dallas. I don't think Houston's going to score on Dallas's defense.
Houston's passing defense is really good. On the other hand, I think that their rushing defense is kind of mediocre, and this is a team that has wrecking balls at running back.
Kyle Allen. That's who Houston brought in.
Allen. I knew. Yeah, he was in Carolina, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I was thinking Walker. So I knew it was somebody from Carolina, but but I think again, Dallas has wrecking balls in the backfield, and they're going to be able to run the ball pretty efficiently. And really, Dak's just going to have to come out and be a game manager in this one. Let Dallas's defense do what it does, and try to, they just got to put some points on the board.
But I don't really want to spend a lot of time on this game. Dallas is a noticeably better team. It would be a real shock if they lost. Dallas is going to win this game.
Next one's a big divisional game.
This is a huge game. It's Philly at New York playing the Giants. I took Philly to win this 27-20. I think Philly is the better team. The Giants have a bright future. The Giants looked really good this year.
They put themselves in a bad situation last week. That tie game is going to be very, very important because that half a game could be what bumps them out of a tie for that last playoff position because they are going to be fighting for one of the bottom playoff positions. That division is too strong for them. That tie is a half a game. That half a game.
We're not talking about the Commanders right now, but that half a game actually bumped the Commanders out of the playoffs because Seattle is 8-5 and the Commanders are 7-5.
But this is the thing: is that half a game could do the same thing to the Giants. They're in that bottom. They're playing for those bottom positions, those one or two last spots.
But very well, it could do.
It could be that thing that puts. But the Giants have to be winning for the rest of the year for that to be a positive thing. If they lose a couple of games, it's going to be huge.
The Giants had one of the best records in the NFL, and they still have a good record, but they've really taken a step back.
7-5-1.
Yeah. They've really taken a step back from that early season Giants. They're finding ways to at the end lose.
Saquon has slowed down a little bit.
A lot of it.
They traded away Tony, and not that it seems like it wasn't.
He wasn't even healthy when they were winning.
No, he wasn't. But it's one of those things where you wonder if just having him on the field at times creates a distraction, and maybe opens up the field a little better. But really, this is a game where the Giants need to win it, but I don't see them doing it. Philly's got a lot of weapons, defensively, offensively. I don't think you can move the ball on the ground.
They're good for a playoff run.
Well, again, on the ground, Linval Joseph. They have Sue. They have Cox. They have fucking Brandon Graham. They have fucking Robert Quinn. Their defense is. It's almost the entire Pro Bowl lineup right there.
On the D line, even their rotational players.
You have a hard time getting a QB sneak in on these fucking guys on their defensive line. So it's really.
And then they've got Darius Slay at corner.
Yep.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson is amongst the league leaders in interceptions coming over from New Orleans.
Yeah. So
he might actually be leading the league. C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. The Phillies. They've only got one loss and they've earned it. They're a team that last year was in the playoffs for you're you were like, how the hell did they even get here? And this year they're kind of showing, how they wound up there.
A.J. Brown, biggest acquisition of the offseason for them.
Yep, definitely. Huge target. Really helped round out their offense. And, it's working. I know Goddard, Goddard's a solid tight end over
I took
there. He's
Philly
doing well.
27-20.
Yeah, I took Philly 30-21. I think Philly's going to be able to, just. I don't want to say there's no chance because the Giants still could come out, but they also played Washington to a tie last week, and that's it's I don't know. I don't think if you can't not that Washington's a slouch team right now, but in their division, I have a hard time picking the Giants in this one. I really do.
The next game,
our last 1:00
Sunday,
game,
it's going to be Jacksonville heading to Tennessee, the Motown City, to play the Titans. And I took the Titans to win this 24-17. It's a game I can see the Jags possibly winning, but at the end of the day, the Titans I do see them as a better team. Derrick Henry's very well. Ryan Tannehill is a better quarterback so far.
Burks having a good season at the second half.
He's starting,
of the season.
Yep. And at the end of the day, I think Mike Vrabel is a very good coach, and he'll be able to coach his team up well enough to be ready for a team that they are better than. Tennessee would beat Jacksonville more times than not if they played a bunch of times. They are a better team, and with a good coach like Vrabel, I don't see Tennessee dropping this game.
In this game, I took the Jags, but I took the Jags 24-21, and it's a huge question mark because Trevor Lawrence is questionable, Zay Jones is questionable. If these two players don't come on the field, I have a hard time sticking with the Jags. But if they come on the field and they're healthy, I think the Jags have, they're a surprise team this year, underdog team that's overperforming, and I really can't wait to see them next year healthy, with Calvin Ridley in this offense.
Yeah, because Kirk looks good in the offense. So.
Yep, and again, Zay Jones is doing really well as number 2 over there.
And Etienne came to life.
Yeah.
In his first season as a starter because he was hurt all his rookie year.
Yeah, and so I'm taking Jacksonville, but that's barring the injuries. The game could definitely go the other way if Lawrence or Zay Jones are both out for the game. So, we'll see how that one goes. Maybe Henry can keep the ball rolling. The Jags, I think their weakness is probably somewhere in their defense. Tannehill might have what it takes to expose some of it.
However, they have a fantastic linebacker.
Kuhn. Yeah, oh, definitely. The guy's insane. Again, going on his second. Yeah, he's probably gonna be the second year he leads the league in tackles.
With that though, we're gonna kick off our 4:00 games. We got the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Denver. This was a game I circled on the calendar in the preseason, and now I've crossed it off because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, this is this was one of those games you thought was going to be a lot better. I took Kansas City to roll on them again. Yeah, 31-10. I have a hard time giving Denver more than 10 points at all any week now.
I took Kansas City as well, but I took 24-13 because as bad as Denver's offense has looked, that's why I got Denver held.
That's more than they're averaging on the season.
That's right about their average.
They're averaging 12.2 on the season.
Exactly. So 13's not crazy to expect. That's a touchdown and 2 field goals.
They haven't broke 10 in almost 3 weeks.
So the thing is, though, I think they'll be able to hold Kansas City to a degree. Kansas City's going to win the game, barring anything crazy. But Denver's defense has been remarkable. They actually do not deserve to be this bad of a team. It's been catastrophically bad bringing in a quarterback that's supposed to be as good as Russell Wilson is. And yeah, Denver's just a really sad team, and Kansas City will win this game, but I don't see them putting up over 30. I got them at 24.
Yeah, 31-10. Again, I just really have a hard time giving Denver more than 10 points. Even last week I gave them 10 points, and they disappointed me and only put up 9. They also did Baltimore game last week, right? Baltimore and Denver.
Just to touch on real quick, we're going back to a few games, because I don't really want to talk about Kansas City Denver that much, because that's... If Denver was competitive, I might want to put more effort into it. But did you know that Buffalo is a 10-point favorite over the Jets?
Yeah.
Isn't that absurd, though? 10 points is don't you think it's a lot?
I think
I think it's disrespectful for the Jets for them to be 10-point underdogs.
I agree, but at the same time, I think they're coming out. Allen's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, and they're playing really good football. So, but I don't think 10 points is fair, especially with Mike White. And I think Mike White is going to be again. That's going to probably be one of the big we're going to see how this team plays with White in there instead of, because they played with Wilson when they played earlier.
They won
in the
with
season.
Wilson.
Yeah, they won with Wilson. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what team Buffalo prepares for.
The next game is going to be Carolina at Seattle. Seattle's currently sitting in the last playoff spot right now. They're the 7th seed in
And
the
they're playing
playoffs.
better than that, but they're 8-5 right now.
They're 7-5.
7
They've
and
had a
5.
bye week.
Yeah, but they were going to week 14.
Yeah, so
13
through
games.
13 weeks with a bye, they played 12 games.
Oh, yeah,
They're
okay.
7-5.
Yeah.
So Seattle, they've played well, but they've also had games that they've lost that they didn't look good. Like they lost to Las Vegas, they lost to San Fran.
Also, the injury
Early
report's
in the
big in this
season.
game because you have Walker III is doubtful to out already. I don't know if they've
So
officially listed
Seattle's
him as out.
run game is going to be hard.
And DK Metcalf is questionable. Thank
He'll
God.
play. That guy's
Yeah.
animal.
Even if he doesn't, Lockett's on the other side, and they have a solid. Fant has actually come around to be a pretty reliable target as a tight end over there. So
And Lockett, DK Metcalf passes the eye test of like he's better than Lockett when you watch them on the field. But Lockett, if you go strictly by
one of the
statistics, if you go
consistent
strictly by
receivers.
statistics and don't look at the player and the plays they make, like the eye test, just by stats, Lockett is arguably better than DK Metcalf.
Yep. Oh no, 100%. No, I mean consistently. It's not like it's been one season. They've been on the same team together Metcalf's whole career.
The only reason why I think DK gets more respect than Lockett is because when you look at DK and you look at the way he plays on the field, you're like, that guy's a fucking animal.
Well, Lockett's not an amazing offensive specimen like Metcalf is, but he goes out and he's always been the number 2 over there because they had Baldwin before Metcalf. And so Lockett reminds me a lot of Emmanuel Sanders. He's a guy that comes out and he's been one of the, Sanders was one of the most consistent number 2 guys on every team he's ever been on.
Like Sanders was putting up better stats than number 1s on probably 10 teams in the league.
Yep, and there's times when, as the number 2, he put up better numbers than Demaryius Thomas. When he was over in Denver, a couple of seasons, he definitely had more receptions. A season he had more yards. So he's definitely shown his ability to be that guy over there if they need him to be.
I like the comparison. Lockett reminds me a lot of him.
Yep, they're very good guys like that. He's a guy I'm happy to have on my roster any season. But on the other side of the ball, Carolina, I think they're starting Sam Darnold this week. Again. Besides DJ Moore, there's not really anybody over there statistically to really concern yourself with. I know the running back, Foreman.
Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, Foreman. He's been putting up some good stats of late, but really, again, this is, you're
I
better
got
off.
Seattle 31-16.
Yeah, I got Seattle taking this one 27-13. But it's going to be an interesting game, but again, it's a game that should be pretty well dominated by Seattle.
Our next game is probably the
up
game
until
of
the
the
week
if Garoppolo was
up until
healthy.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, this was one that was definitely.
It's the 49ers. It's Tampa Bay heading to San Fran to play the 49ers. I took San Fran to win 23-20 with Brock Purdy at quarterback. I
Brock
still
Purdy,
took Tampa Bay
Mr.
to
Irrelevant.
lose.
Yep, Mr.
I
Irrelevant.
took San Fran to win.
Yep. Mr. Irrelevant has he's making history right now. He's going to be. I think he's the only quarterback ever drafted last to start an NFL game. Dead last to start an NFL game, and that's what he's going to get a chance to do this week after coming in and taking over the helm for Jimmy Garoppolo, who broke his foot.
Reason why I take San Fran is their defense is only giving up 15.8 points per game, so less than just over 2 touchdowns a game, and they have blocking, they have so much talent on offense that I don't respect Brock Purdy. I'm sorry, Brock Purdy, if that is rude to say, whatever, but you've never played an NFL game until you had to be forced into one last week. And I'm not going to sit there and act like I'm going to respect him as like a viable starter until there's some tape on him. And he's the last pick in the draft. But the Niners have so many pieces on offense that just about anybody could go in there. And as long as they listen to Kyle Shanahan, dude, this is the play. Get the ball in this dude's hands. He should be open.
Nick Bosa is going to be.
The Niners are.
Nick Bosa is doubtful for this game, which is also going to be
That's
a
a
big
huge
deal.
hit.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal. He's questionable to doubtful. They downgrade him to questionable to doubtful today. I don't. He technically isn't out at this point. My thing is disregarding the stats, because unfortunately, there's one player in the NFL that usually, especially this time of year, you pretty much have to disregard the stats for. And I hate to say it because I have to deal with it fucking constantly. It's hard to bet against Tom Brady at the end of the season and going into the playoffs, dude. This guy's got some kind of fucking magic, and he pulls it out of a fucking hat every year. And this is a game that, honestly, I'm probably gonna pick Tampa Bay most weeks going into the end of this, throughout the rest of the season, because Tampa Bay. There's something about what Tom Brady can do last week. You saw last week they did dog shit for 54 minutes against the New Orleans Saints, who had nothing going on. And Brady went out there and he said, all right, it's time to win. And they said, what do you mean? There's fucking 4 minutes left. We don't have a shot in hell. We're down 2 scores. And Tom Brady said, this is what I do. And he went out there and he fucking won this game. And this is the problem, is Tom Brady can be down 2 scores with less than 4 fucking minutes, and you're still not safe. And so it's hard to, regardless of the numbers, bet against this guy. One thing they do have going into this game is, I know Fournette is going to be out, so it's going to be a pass-heavy game for them.
I still took the Niners to win, but that was the big question mark for me. It's hard.
28.
It was hard. It was hard to take the Niners 23-20 because of Purdy versus Brady.
Yeah, the Brady effect is huge. The Brady effect almost.
I still took the Niners because I think the Niners are a better team than the Bucs. But it was really hard when I sat there and compared Brady versus Purdy. It's like, obviously Brady is like Purdy can't even hold a candle to this dude.
Mm-hmm. And it's again, with Fournette being out, it's going to be a pass-heavy game. All the offensive weapons are going to be in this game. Godwin's healthy, Jones is healthy, Evans is healthy. It's going to be, it's going to be an interesting game still, because it's going to be Brady against the Niners defense. Because Purdy against Tampa Bay defense just doesn't even sound like an interesting game. It sounds like he's going to
what you could do a lot of is hit Kittle on 10-yard routes, hit Debo on end arounds and slants and screen plays, feed the ball to McCaffrey, throw him the ball at the backfield, and just let these guys move the ball downfield. Get him the ball and let them move. Then, honestly, he's always been a solid player. I don't think he's quite on Lockett and Sanders level, but I think Ayuk is one of the best number 2 receivers in the NFL. He's very good. He's a very good complementary receiver.
He wasn't the guy they wanted him to be last year. I know they planned on him being like the number 1 last year and kind of having Debo move around. He came out and he was flat last year, and he kind of got downgraded because Shanahan didn't like what he saw. And even to start out this year, he wasn't really clicking right away. But he definitely,
in the second half, touchdowns this year.
Second half of the season, he's definitely picked up his gameplay. There's the chemistry was getting there between him and Garoppolo. But again, Garoppolo's going to be out. He does have a chance because there's no surgery. San Fran would have to make it through the second round of the playoffs for him to have a chance at coming back. Because they said mid-January, possibly. I just don't know. I know Shanahan's kind of downplayed it because I think he wants to focus on what they have right now and what they have going forward instead of the possibility of him coming back at some point. And I know a lot of that's just to keep focus on this game, the next game, the next game, the next game. Which is good because you have a young quarterback.
Yeah, at the end of the day, things look bleak. You just lost both your top 2 quarterbacks.
So this wasn't the guy, wasn't their plan for the future, but at the same time, it's what they have, and Shanahan's good at working with what he's got. Again, we'll see what happens. I took Tampa Bay only because I can't bet against Brady this late in the season. It's real hard.
Especially against Purdy.
Yeah. So
our night game for Sunday is going to be a game that could very possibly be a lot more interesting than you would think. It's Miami versus the Chargers. Now, I chose Miami to win 34-21, but this could be a game where the Chargers keep it tight, and you never know. My big problem with the Chargers is everyone seems sold on Justin Herbert, thinks he's really great. I think the kid's talented. Justin Herbert's not a slouch of a quarterback. But I've said it before on this show, and I will say it, the Chargers found Philip Rivers 2.0. The guy puts up stats. The guy can throw the ball. He's not a slouch of a quarterback. He doesn't win them games. The Chargers are floating around 500 right now. He loses just as much as he wins.
We also have a guy who's most passing yards from any player in the first 3 seasons.
That's what I'm saying. He's talented.
He's
definitely talented.
5 games left in the season, and he's 1 touchdown away from breaking Dan Marino's 90 touchdowns in the first 3 seasons. So he's going to blow that stat out of the water.
I don't argue he's talented.
And they're back healthy. This is going to be the first game since week 1 where he's got all his receivers back healthy and Eckler playing well. Mike Williams is going to be back. Keenan Allen's in and making a difference, in the last 2 weeks, noticeably. And Eckler is sitting on over 85 catches right now. So Eckler's been a great weapon out of the backfield too. A lot of them are dump and run plays, but at the same time, he's a good he's an option when he gets in trouble. So Miami's coming off a game where they only scored 14 points against Seattle.
Against the number one defense.
San Fran's defense. Not number 1 passing defense, but the number 1 defense overall.
Alright, he drives me crazy with this, so I want to leave it up to you. I know we don't have that many viewers, but if you guys want to watch it, please comment on this. San Fran is ranked 12th in passing yards allowed, but they are tied for, I think, 2nd with 11 passing touchdowns allowed, and they were 1st with Denver. But Tua and that great offense were able to get 2 passing touchdowns. San Fran gives up just about no points, no touchdowns. So the fact that they gave up the 12th least, so this 11 teams giving up less yards than them, passing yards, is it more important that they're keeping people out the end zone? I think it's more important. He thinks it's a big detriment that they're giving up some yards.
I just think that San Fran has a hole in this defense that everyone ranks number 1, and that's the fact that their passing defense is middle of the pack.
No, 12th is not middle of the pack. It's better than middle of the pack.
It's the 2nd, 3rd. So, I mean, it's when you bracket it out. But at the same time, Miami, I took the Chargers in this one 27-24. It's more wishful thinking because I think that the Chargers, fully healthy, can come out and put out a show. Miami, not a bad team. Tua's making a run for it. Tua also is still he did take a loss last week. It was his first loss against the Niners. So he's only got 1 loss on the season as a starter. I think this is going to be probably one of the more exciting games to watch all week. You have a very diverse offense in San Diego, and in Miami, if you can get Mostert going, or what did they have? Wilson is the other guy over there, right?
Mostert and Jeff Wilson. Yeah, they got the 2 San Fran backs from last year.
I mean, the receiving core is hands down it's tits. But it's the Miami's are how balanced their offense can be against these guys is gonna make a big difference.
So when I think about Miami, I got them winning this game. But moving on, past this game, just talking about Miami. I kind of have them as a lock for the playoffs. Miami, they should make the playoffs. Yeah. The reason why I don't have Miami ranked with the top teams in the AFC, and I don't see Miami winning the Super Bowl or making it through the playoffs, is
their defense.
Not even that. Is in the playoffs, you're going to face a team that can play defense against you. And they weren't able to beat San Fran with a 3rd-string quarterback that's never taken a snap in the NFL in his life. And to me, to lose a game like that last week, that's not a Super Bowl team. So Miami, as great as they are, they're not the team that I would pick to come out of the AFC as the AFC champion. Because in the playoffs, you're going to face good defense. Bills play good defense. The Bengals have a good defense. And the Chiefs always find a way to play better defense in the playoffs.
My argument is, unfortunately, when I look for a Super Bowl champion, when I look at these teams and I try to look at complete teams, the first thing I look at is defense. And if you don't have a top 5 defense, I automatically disregard you. Then I have to look at your record because you could have a top 5 defense and not even be in the playoffs. Look at Denver. Look at, unfortunately.
Denver's sad, though, because all they would need was, okay play out of us and they'd be there.
I argue every year that.
It's just okay.
I argue every year that to be a Super Bowl champion team, you need a top 5 defense and you need an offense that can put up 17 to 20 points. Because if you have those 2 things and you go back and look consistently, first of all, the last couple of Super Bowls haven't really been high-scoring events. You had the terrible one with the Rams. Oh my God, I think it was fucking it was
I'd say I'd say similar to say, but to win a Super Bowl consistently. Now I'm no GM. I'm not building these teams.
9-7 Giants guy. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to remind people of the 9-7 Giants.
As a fan, what the 9-7 Giants had is exactly what I'm about to say.
An
as a
offense
fan,
that can put up 17 to 20
as
points
a fan
and a top
that's
5
watched
defense.
the league since I've been alive, you need a top 5 defense and a top 10 quarterback.
Well, a top 10 quarterback should be able to put up 17 to 20.
If you have a top 10 quarterback and a top 5 defense, you should be able to compete for.
Well, again, that quarterback should correlate to 17 to 20 points, I think, at least in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but like I'm saying,
because you're also going up against another top contender on the other side of the ball. So there shouldn't be blowouts in the Super Bowl. It shouldn't be fucking 41 to fucking 17.
That's what happened in the Denver-Seattle Super Bowl. Is Denver had the number 1 offense in the NFL, but their defense was not ranked good at all, and so they went into the game, and Seattle's defense, which was maybe they're in argument for the best defense in NFL history. I'm not going to rank them yet, but they're a team to consider when you talk about the best defenses to touch a football field. And
I mean, the Giants.
They just walked in there and completely shut Peyton Manning down in a record-breaking season, and it got ugly real quick.
I try to remind people again: 9-7 Giants who were shut out on the season by the 4-12 Washington Redskins. Still went out and won the Super Bowl. I have a hard time saying they were the best team in football, especially when they did it against the undefeated New England Patriots. So again, this is you need the Patriots though, as undefeated as they were. It was all offense. They didn't have a top 5 defense that year. They didn't have an elite defense that year. They had an insane offense, and the problem is they came in against a team that could shut down their offense, and they weren't able to put up the rest of the points they needed. They weren't able to stop these guys. Because, again, if you have a top 5 defense, you're not giving up Hail Mary helmet catches either. You're just not.
That game, I'm pretty sure, was less than 20 points by either team.
Yeah, but again, it's...
Which is very low scoring, and they hit the under on anybody's thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. But again, it comes down to defense. It comes down to that defense was able to stop these guys, and the Giants were able to come out and put up the points that they needed. So I think when it comes to Miami's just not... Miami's offense is there, but their defense just isn't there, and that's why people aren't talking about them as real Super Bowl contenders.
Great team, though.
Yeah. Next, the last game is our Monday night game. That's going to be New England heading over to Arizona. They get to play a warm weather game in a late season where they're used to playing in some cold weather, which is nice for them. It's a good break. But they're also going to be out Jacoby Myers and Damian Harris in this one. So they're going to be relying, obviously, on Stevenson. Stevenson's kind of taking over the lead role over there as a running back. But their receiving core is, all over the place. I don't even know who's going to start this game. It might be Mac Jones. It might be Zappy. Who knows? And on the other side of the ball, I mean, Arizona is just a fucking, with all the talent, it's a shame that they have, they're still going with Kyler Murray, and his issues. So I took New England this 21-17. And it really, again, has to do with just the fact that New England's going to, is got Bill Belichick on the other side of the ball, and Arizona's defense is really not a good defense. I think New England should be able to push through this one and take it.
This is a game I took New England 20-17. I took New England as well. The Patriots should win. However, this is a very competitive game in my opinion.
Evenly matched teams. I don't think either teams are really good.
This is a game that New England has to win if they feel like they're a playoff team, because they are right there on the playoff bubble. So if New England feels like they're a playoff team and they're a team that belongs at least competing in the winter, then they need to go out and beat Arizona. This is a team with a losing record. These aren't the games that are considered hard games on their schedule. They're in a tough division. They're going to have to play. Pretty sure they're going to have to play the Bills again.
The Bills have one more against them too.
So they're going to have games that are harder than Arizona. So this is a game where if New England feels like they're a team that belongs in the postseason, you have to go in and beat Arizona.
Yeah, I think so too. A little bit of sports news outside of our regular schedule here is Atlanta's not playing this week, but they did sit Mariota. Desmond Ridder is going to be their starting quarterback coming out for the rest of the season. They're going to give him the bye week. It's time to work with the offense.
You think that means they gave up on the playoffs?
I don't like the idea because I feel like it does. But at the same time, I feel like you got to see what the kids got in them because you got the draft coming up, and if Ritter's not going to be your guy, you got a lot of shots at good quarterbacks.
And a little bit of Bristol sports for you. Donovan Clingan from Bristol Central. He's been playing really well as a freshman at UConn. UConn is actually 11-0. It's the first time they've been 11-0 since 2008. Team is playing remarkable. They keep going up in the NCAA rankings. Donovan Clingan today in their game in 15 minutes, he put up 20 points on 10 of 10 shooting with 11 rebounds.
Amazing.
So Donovan Clingan as a freshman has transitioned very well from high school into the college game, and he looks like a force to be reckoned with. I don't know how long he's going to spend in college because I really see him going to the NBA at some point.
I think it's going to be a quick jump. Also in sports news, the NFL this week, the situation in New Orleans. I don't know if you saw this. Cam Jordan just got fined today, and the team got fined today for faking an injury at the end of the game to stop the clock against Tom Brady. Because they're trying to get to stop the clock, you give themselves a little bit more time with the ball towards the end of the game. They got fined for faking an injury. And I don't know how serious this is, but I can't really. They tried to say he got hurt on the play before. He hurt his foot, and then on the fourth down play, he stopped it. He came out and he was.
Well, did you see the Cincinnati Kansas City game last week?
Same thing.
Well, what happened was Kansas City came out. They were kind of like ready to go. They were about to call play, and Cincinnati had two guys running off the sideline coming on, and they were making a rotation, and Cincinnati just realized like they were kind of like fucked. So they had Jesse Bates, their star safety. He just falls to the ground, starts grabbing his leg, and he's out of nowhere, it's just my leg.
I think it's
goes out to the sideline, misses one play, and then comes in the play after.
Well, again, I think they did this to stop the clock, and it's kind of a dirty play, and it's a shame that they, teams.
That's a soccer move.
It's a shame that high quality players, they walk Cam into the blue, into the tent, and taped up his foot, and he came back out with his foot taped up and kept playing. But it's so and again, the NFL looked at it, reviewed it, and they decided that he faked the injury. His foot should have been fine. The team said they had a follow-up MRI the following day and all this other stuff, But who knows? It just might have been some stuff to help cover their ass. But
And the last thing I want to touch up on, it's in other news. The FIFA World Cup has been going on right now. It's a pretty big event. It happens around the world. It's only every 4 years. It's almost like the Olympics. But Argentina beat the Netherlands to advance to the semifinals. You had Portugal lose to Morocco, so Morocco's in the semifinals. You had Croatia win. Croatia headed to the semifinals, and you had France beat England. Big news about this is, one, Lionel Messi's never won a World Cup, and he's one of the greatest players to ever play, so he's 2 games away from maybe winning his first World Cup. And then the other news is that Croatia and France are both in the semifinals, and they played in the last World Cup, and France was able to edge Croatia, so there's a very good chance that we have a rematch in back-to-back World Cups, which I don't know how often that's ever happened, but I'm very confident it doesn't happen often. It's very hard for a team to repeat World Cups.
And in the NBA, we had a little bit of Lakers history the other day. Russell Westbrook tied Magic Johnson as the only player to ever come off the bench and put up a triple-double for them, which, good for him. It's nice to see he's still got a little gas in the tank.
Oh, yeah.
Westbrook's past his prime, but he's still, playing good basketball.
Russ is still athletic. He can still play defense. He can still pass, and he can still dunk. But I don't know what happened, but his jump shot is just atrocious.
Age happens, dude. Maybe he blew out he's getting carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I thought people typically get better jump shots as they get older.
But again, that's our weekly Sunday preview. Next week's going to be a little more interesting because we have a bunch of Saturday games, so we're going to be posting videos a little earlier in the week. You guys can look for them. In the meantime, enjoy your football this weekend, and I hope you guys are all getting ready for the holidays. Have a good one. We'll catch you later, Bristol.